Welcome to the SowGrow Marketing Council podcast. The SowGrow Marketing Council is a membership organization comprised of growing marketers who want to stay ahead of developments in multiple areas of marketing. This podcast features recordings of SowGrow Marketing Council meetings. Tune in to hear expert marketers share tips and discuss the latest strategies and tools in marketing. To join the next meeting and be part of the discussion yourself, visit SowGrowPR.com. That's SowGrowPR.com and click on the Marketing Council tab. Let's get growing. Welcome to the SowGrow Marketing Council. We are so excited to have a group of executive level marketers today to share tips about what's happening in their particular area of marketing. So we're going to have an opportunity to learn from all these different wonderful experts, and then we'll have a little bit of discussion after each question. And this group really started from me wanting to network with other marketers and learn from them years and years ago. And so we just meet once a month and we share tips. And it's just a great way to learn and stay up to speed on all these different areas of marketing, since marketing is changing and happening so fast. And as you present your tips, presenters, today, please remember to say your name and your company and your area of expertise. And that way we can get to know you and people can follow you on social media and start to follow you guys and learn about more that you guys have to offer, whether it's following your blog or following you on LinkedIn, whatever it might be. And you guys also feel free to put your name and your contact information in the chat. And that way, if you guys want to reach out to somebody after and have coffee, I highly recommend that you guys do that. And then if you guys want to present in the future, you guys can submit a tip and we will let you know if you've been selected to submit. And if you want to present in the future, you go to SowGrowPR.com/submit. And then we can save a spot for you for the next meeting. And speaking of the next meeting, go ahead and sign up for the next meeting, July 15th, 2025. We are meeting it's the third Tuesday of every month. And we start at 10, but we log on about 9:50 just to settle in. So if you guys want to go ahead and sign up for that, I've put a link in the chat for you guys to sign up to the events. And also don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and listen to all the past episodes. That's SowGrowPR.com/podcast. And you guys can listen to all the tips we've had from all of our past episodes. And there's a great wealth of content there. So I'm excited today to introduce our guest to you. And we're going to have Dan Bennett start. And then we're going to hear from Jeff Haws, Mickey Mellen, Susan Gold, and then I will wrap us up. So Dan, would you like to introduce yourself and share your tip today?
Yeah, I'm excited. We hit on this a little bit last time, and I was like, ooh, I think there's something there. So my name's Dan Bennett with Hot Sauce Video. We help remarkable people look and sound good on camera. That's everything from studios to post-production and editing. I recently finally had an answer to like, how are you using AI in your business? Because it's everywhere. Everyone's got opinions. Everyone's trying to hack something. And we use it in a way that's not necessarily that sexy or exciting. And so I'm like, how do we use it? And one of the ways that we do is through tricking people into being better storytellers. And so I have this really interesting, I'll just share my screen for a little bit and then we can chat about it after. I have this really interesting thing that happened, and it didn't surprise me because of human nature, but it did surprise me because it wasn't the first thing that we thought of. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. And what you're looking at here is a dedicated Notion page that anyone can go and visit. You can't break it. It kind of operates like a web page and it covers our strategy. I'm not going to get into all that strategy today, and anyone can visit, ask any questions anytime. But I wanted to bring this up to kind of show this point. So we have the solar system methodology. It's a way to know what content you're making, why, where you're going to put it, and how to track it afterwards, instead of just making content and hoping that it does well. And it revolves around the sun or your big idea. The planets around that are your topics, themes, buckets, and the moons around every planet are your ongoing content, the things that you help people with all the time. And because we were building this out, and we, no matter our product, we're constantly tricking people into being better storytellers. We don't sell storytelling products. We don't shove it down anyone's throat, but we're constantly and openly tricking people into being better storytellers. One of the ways we do that is in our strategy. We provide tools around storytelling. And my approach has always been take a storytelling framework of some sort and cram your real life experiences, expertise, and all that into it. Internally, my team calls it story bacon. So wrap the Brussels sprouts in bacon. Hopefully, we can get some people to eat their vegetables. And so inside of here, I got these 7 content categories. And within each one is a framework, a storytelling framework. And I think there's about 21 of them total. And we've always given this away for free. So strategy is a product we sell, but we always gave access to this kind of concept and theory so you could look at it, poke around, get ideas, and maybe get some traction yourself, even if you don't work with us. And this storytelling framework part, I spent a lot of time developing and I put a lot of thought into it. And it's everything that's worked for us, over the last 16 years. And we really couldn't get people to pay much attention to it. Now, when we work directly and you're already a client, it's easy to trick you into being a better storyteller because you're interested in what we have to say as we work together. When you're just someone downloading a free tool, it's a little bit harder to get people to participate. The joke in a lot of my conversation is I have led thousands of horses to water. I can at least say that. So, um, out of a little bit of frustration and creativity, about a month ago, being asked all the time, AI and video, what are you seeing? What are you thinking? What are you using? I'm like, man, we don't use it for video. We use it for like business. And I wonder how I can share some tools or some, tips and tricks around how we use AI and mixing the two. How do we use AI? And then this availability of storytelling frameworks that's not being utilized very well. I took the time to then build a custom GPT. It took me about a week. I spent a lot of time and thought on it and essentially created something very straightforward and useful. And we just call it the storytelling coach. It's a free GPT. Anyone that's on Chat GPT can use the link and go use it. And what we did was you can just say, hey, I'm an expert in wealth management. I think people often overlook having a Roth IRA. I want to make a post about how a Roth IRA isn't what you think. And that's your whole idea. That's as far as you've gotten. You can literally come in here and say, hey, I have a video idea, but I need help shaping the story around that idea. And chat will look at what you've given so far and say, okay, cool. I see 2 or 3 storytelling frameworks that would probably go really good with this. I can either show you the whole framework and you can just look at it and be inspired by it, or I can ask you questions after you pick one about what you're wanting to put out into the world today and get you to the point where you have this final little script. Doesn't mean you have to copy and paste and use it, but it takes what you were wanting to talk about and a framework that matches really well with it and gives you like a really nice starting point. And did some refinement, tested it with about 20 people, got it to a point to where I feel good about giving it away for free and trusting it'll work pretty well for people. And the moral of this entire story is I couldn't get anyone to go to a free tool and do a twirl down and look at a framework and be inspired by it. But I could get a lot of people very quickly to go to a custom GPT and utilize it. And it's the same tool, different packaging. And it really showed me that you kind of have to be where people are, even if the information you share uh, doesn't change. Yeah. So I'm going to, at this point, put the custom GPT link in the chat. Again, it's free. Might be paid somewhere way down in the future if I, make it robust enough. But it's a great way to just jump in, say, hey, this is what I'm an expert in. This is the topic I want to cover today. And it'll kind of walk you through the rest of the process.
That is so great. Thank you for sharing that, Dan. Can you see how many people are using it? Are there any metrics or analytics on the back end that can show you how many people are accessing that?
I'm not a chat expert, so like I don't know if there's anything on the back end of chat, but we track all of our links, so I know how many people have at least visited after they said they would, and how often and where they're from. So I got a little bit of information, and that's where I'm like, we've already gotten hundreds of people to visit this thing, and I couldn't get hundreds of people to go to that framework and just click a couple things and look. So um, it's blowing away the old methods, just because of its wrapping paper.
That's
That
such
said,
a
can you
good
send?
lesson. Yeah. Go ahead, Mickey.
I was gonna say, can you put a link to the Notion one too? Because that one interests me more. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
drop that in chat if you would. That'd be great. I'd love to check that out.
for sure.
Thoughts and questions for Dan. That's a great resource. I'm excited to look at that.
Got a question. Dan, it free is free, but if it was, and you already said that you don't, there's not really a way uh to track it, but have you considered, do you think there's a way that you can you mention your brand? And then it's just at least they know that, I mean, they probably wouldn't discover the link unless it was shared by you, unless it just goes completely out in the wild. But is there any way that you can at least um have a little bit of a lead gen mechanism out of it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, there's always better ways, right? Especially in a room full of people who know how to market. I'm all ears. But we have a decent suite of tools, and we're very fortunate because our tools are so specific. I don't have like PDF downloads for the sake of learning something. I have like script templates and folder structures for making a good video project, and it's like actual things people need. So we put it in our suite of tools for content development, even though it's actually storytelling. And so everyone that we've gotten through so far, we have gotten their email because it did go out through our suite of tools that someone's got to sign up for. And then I guess on the back of that is there's the shareability that might happen, like you said, out in the wild, where if you're already signed up on our newsletter, you're going to get access to our tools. So you're not giving us your email again, but you might like it so much that you shared the GPT with someone else, and we might not know that happened. So that's definitely something to think about, moving forward. But I was like equally surprised and not. I was surprised that we already got like 160, 170 people to visit this thing, but also AI is still cool. People are still interested. They're trying to figure things out. Tools are tools. We love to collect them, and sometimes they collect dust and all the things, I'm like surprised, but also kind of not surprised. Um, but if it helps someone tell a better story, that's the win for me. Yeah.
Dan, have you ever, I don't know if it's on your website or a place where people can find you to show what the before and the after would be so that this is what my article or my attempt at storytelling would look like. And then this is what happened when I used your tool. That might be an effective way to get people to understand where this is going.
Yeah, you've triggered me for sure. It's both like a place of joy and extreme pain. We only have three products, so it's like help people build studios, strategy, and then editing. Studios and editing have before and afters, and they're so easy to show. Strategy is such a hard, ethereal thing to show a before and after that it's always been a challenge for us to try to figure out how we show an ROI because the ROI is not always more clicks and likes and money. Sometimes it's that someone wrote you a comment on your YouTube video and was like, man, this was so compelling. Great storytelling. Like that's the stuff that we don't have to measure all the time. So I'm always thinking and open to, again, all ears on ways to kind of try and get a before and after when there's not an actual visual before and after to show.
Yeah, I had a couple of thoughts, and then they lead to similar thought of Billy and I guess Susan. One is I really like the place this is coming from. It speaks to a couple of things that I talk about a lot with potential clients, which is the idea of be authentically helpful. Provide things that will actually help people. You can become beloved. You can become a brand that people come back to and want to hear from and want to do more with. If you are thinking in terms of actually being helpful and not always thinking in terms of selling. And so in that spirit, I love this tool. It really does kind of embody that of really trying to be authentically helpful to people and not just like helpful in a way that maybe I can then sell you something. So I can appreciate it from that perspective. Two is lead with empathy. I think a lot of marketers don't really do that. They lead a lot with me, and why I'm great and why my thing is better than that thing. And they don't lead with meeting people where they are and delivering something that will help them accomplish a task, solve a problem, get over a hurdle they have. What are the challenges they're having? How do I help them solve those? So those two things it really speaks well to, and those are things that I think a lot of marketers don't get or don't hit on very well. But the pivot is at the end of the day, we have to sell. And so, like, there is those frames matter, but how do you also pivot to selling? And what comes to mind for me, I think Susan's thought is really good, which is I think of retargeting. I think, if you have their information, you know who these people are. The retargeting could come in a couple of different ways, and that could be follow-up content. There could be a PDF or something that like takes that and then like shows them how to implement it. Like now that you've seen this and now that you've done it, here's kind of how we've implemented it and how we think it can really help. Have you been enjoying it? Have you been thinking about it? Here's this thing we put together, sort of a guide to how you might be able to use it well, following up with people, continuing that be authentically helpful, continuing to help them, not just showing them a GPT, but hey, here's how you can really use it. Here's how we've used it to help a lot. Also, you could retarget people with a question, a follow-up 2 weeks later, or whatever. Say, hey, did this really help you? We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get a comment. We'd love something like, how can we learn how this helped you? Do you want to share anything that you've created? Like, we'd love to hear from you if this has been helpful to you. But that is super top of funnel. And what I would love to see, and then from a selling perspective, is like maybe there's a mid funnel or upper middle funnel kind of a piece that could be sent to them of, and now, here's how some people have used this to really do this well, and how we can kind of help you take that next step is sort of the mid funnel, I think, approach to there. But I think retargeting those people, you could get a lot of really good information and that sort of user generated content that can help you a lot.
Yeah, totally agree. Three-quarters of what you said, I almost wonder if you like hacked into my ConvertKit account, because it is exactly how we operate. And the tricking into better storytelling is that when people use this GPT, they think what they're getting is the final result of this story they can use, but actually what they're getting is a rep in. And we know that.
Yeah.
And so when I talk to people, I love to just keep it real. Nothing's like 5x your business by working with me. It's always like, here's what you're actually going to get that I can guarantee, and the rest is just a bonus. And in this case, what it is you're not staring at a blank page with a blinking cursor anymore. That's the whole reason for the tool build, was please just go start. Because I call it my wince face when I do like workshops and stuff. It's squish my face. I'm like, you could pay me $10 million a week, and the only part I can't do for you is get the reps in. So at least if you go use a tool thinking it's going to get you some amazing final product, I tricked you into telling better story because you at least did it once, and then hopefully twice, and then maybe 5 times. And if you ever sign up for anything we ever have, I feel confirmation through what you're saying. Our follow-ups are always like, not only did you use it, here it is, here's a quick link, but then it's like, if you used it, we would love to celebrate you in our newsletter and hear your stories and all those things. And that's all very genuine, I just want people to win. And lucky for us, the money follows through referrals and recommendations and stuff a lot of time. But the strategy part is the hardest for before and after. So I love all this information because we're always working on it. Yeah.
So good. Such good tips and thoughts and questions. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. That's great. And y'all, I'll go check out his tool. It's sauce.tools/story coach. So that's a great tool. We're going to check that out. All right, Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself and share your tip today?
Yeah, Jeff Haws. I have recently started Hustle Double Content Marketing and Strategy. It is my personal consulting agency. I'll put something in the chat with a link to my website and everything. Particularly if you're in Atlanta, but wherever, I'd love to talk with people. If you think I'm saying things that resonate with you, or you think you might want somebody who can help you kind of put a strategic layer, SEO layer, something on what you're trying to do. I try to think about things in a little bit different way, and try to come with sort of distilling strategy to something simple that you can try to understand, and turning. If you know anything about baseball, baseball is a love of mine. Hustle double is the hit that looks in every way like a single, but the hitter through grit determination turns into a double. So my idea is to turn your little content marketing singles into doubles, make them better, make little things better than they are. So what I'm going to talk about is something I'm actually working on as a potential talk track for a conference. I'm kind of working through it. So this will be a little preview maybe of a future that I'm kind of working through some ideas. So this will be a good way for me to talk through it a little bit. So one of the most helpful mindsets that I've picked up in content marketing in recent years is something I call assume disinterest in your audience. It's simple, but it really, I think, changes a lot about how you approach content, how you approach marketing. The premise is, when you publish something, a blog, a guide, a newsletter, a social post, a GPT, you have to assume that no one cares. No one is waiting for your insight. No one is refreshing their browser, hoping your blog drops, and no one will automatically give you the benefit of the doubt. It can sound kind of harsh, I know, but it's actually kind of freeing, I think, because if you assume disinterest, you stop hoping for attention and you start figuring out a way to earn it. The problem with thinking the other way, which I think often is um, we write the piece, we hit publish, we send the email, and we sort of sit back and wait. We're thinking if we only tell them how great we are, they'll understand and they'll buy and they'll want to be associated with us. It can be like we believe the quality of the content will carry the day. But the truth is, even content that is great will get ignored when it's not packaged and promoted with intent, because we're not just competing with other brands. We're competing with Slack notifications, meeting overload, social media, and inboxes stacked with 200 unread emails and all kinds of notifications and text messages and everything. The real enemy of content marketing isn't bad content, it's apathy. So what does it mean? What am I kind of talking about? Lead with the hook, not the context. Don't warm up. Don't ease in. Don't start with, we're excited to share the thing. Blah, blah. Grab attention immediately. Make them curious. Make them feel seen. If you assume disinterest, you know you've only got a few seconds to earn their time. Write for their felt need, not your internal goal. It's not about what you want to say, what you want to talk about. It's about what they need to hear to take the next step. Instead of, our software integrates with your data systems and helps you do this. Try tired of customer data living in 5 different tools. Instead of, download our guide to marketing automation. How much time are you wasting doing the same tasks over and over again? Assume they don't care about your product yet. Care about them and meet them where they are. And you're going to promote it like no one saw it the last time. Most teams promote their content once and move on. But if you assume disinterest, you build a distribution plan. You repost, you reframe, you share it in email and sales conversations, Slack channels. You don't say, we already posted that. You say, how many different ways can we earn attention for this? Assuming disinterest doesn't mean your audience doesn't care. It means you respect their time enough not to assume they'll automatically care. So mindset makes your content sharper, messaging tighter, promotion braver. So when you're working on a piece of content, ask yourself, what would this look like if no one cared yet? How would we open it? How would we promote it? How would we show up differently? Because when you stop expecting attention, you start earning it. And that separates content that just kind of exists and lays there from content that can perform for you.
Great, Jeff. Great. Your background in journalism is serving you well, the inverted pyramid and being able to capture attention. That's so helpful. And I appreciate that being in the public relations space, because we are so on the fringes of the brand awareness, and we are like the top of the funnel where people don't even know about us yet. And so it's so relevant for sure. So the great tips. So thoughts and questions for Jeff. Really good content. You guys can raise your hand or you can just jump in.
I mean, just one high level thought I was just going to quickly say is I think the name of your business is fantastic. Because when you first said it, I didn't get it. And then I pulled up the site and explained, like, dude, that's brilliant. I love that. So yeah, it really, once people get it, it explains what you do very well. So
it gives me a good story to tell, to introduce it. And there's a good metaphor there. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's great. And Dan, you had your hand up question?
Yeah, I'll see if I can articulate this well enough. I find there's so many similarities in so many different forms of communication, and editing is a big part of it. And when you're like, instead of saying this, gobbledygook, say this thing, that's like, oh yeah, I get that. And I was signing up for an affiliate thing where I'm going to have affiliates, and they were given the walkthrough of how to set stuff up and put this piece of code in your website and all that stuff. So I copied it all and put it in ChatGPT and was like, can you dumb this down just so I don't miss any steps? And it did. And I was like, man, I wish there was just more of that capability around us. So all that leads to the question of, when you are working with someone and you're trying to share this big idea and they have a rambly sentence with all the jargon in it, is there like a high level approach that someone could understand, at least as a starting point, of how to distill that into real words that mean something, where we don't have to be a journalist or a writer or a storyteller to do it? Is there any kind of go-tos for you?
Um, are you talking in terms of approach, strategy, or like tools or things to bring in?
Actual like wording and stuff, even if it's just a
Okay.
thought experiment. So like I feel like so many of us are programmed by corporate America, even if we didn't belong to it that long. You just see TV and parents and family and whatever. And so like my brain goes to, we are the top strategist firm for blah blah, and you write all that stuff that makes all the most sense. And then there should be an edit of, okay, now how in the heck do I say that in a way people understand? Do you have like an approach for how to distill that?
Yeah, personas are important, but people misunderstand. Marketers misunderstand what personas are for. They think they're for segmenting, or they're for just seeing kind of who the people are out there. Persona is getting them right and really talking to your salespeople and understanding who are the people we're talking to, not just who they are. I don't care about their age or their where they shop or their gender, all that. What do they care about? What are the problems they have? What are the challenges they're trying to overcome? How can we help them? That helps you with the lead with empathy. So understanding who you're talking to, always audience first. Everything you're creating, everything you're talking about is thinking about them and not us. And so when you flip that and you do the mirror image of how people are talking about, you lead immediately with the problem they have. And then how do we solve it uniquely, and what can we do? Um, Everyone is selfish. Every single one of us is selfish. And that isn't a bad thing, really. Not at the end of the day. It's not selfish in a negative way. We want something that is good for us. We want to find something that will help us do a thing, help us overcome a problem. You, Dan, are selfish too, as is your company. You want to you need to grow your business. You need to sell. You need to keep the lights on. Like, you are selfish in your own way. But the difference between the marketer that wins and gets something done and really does sell versus the one that continues to kind of flounder, I think, is that you're able to take your selfishness, recognize it, acknowledge it, and then put it over here in a box and throw it away and focus on their selfishness, focus on catering to theirs. What are they selfish about? What do they care about? And immediately get to it. Don't screw around. Get immediately to what they care about. And so, yeah, like I think understand your customer, know what their problems are, really understand them, not theoretically, not in what I think. No, talk to them. Understand where they're coming from. What words do they use? What do they care about? What do they talk about? What problems do they share with you? And then that is what you're speaking to, not what you want to say. It doesn't matter about, I mean, your brand matters. It certainly does. Brand language and tone and all that matters, but that's a layer. It isn't the whole thing. What you want to talk about is their problem. How do you solve it? What do you do better than the competition? What do you do differently? And how do you solve their problem in a way that is unique to you?
I think Jeff is right on the
Yes.
money. The best marketing has the outsider's perspective. We're all in our own companies, we're inside the glass trying to look at the label on the outside. And it's really challenging to do for yourself. The secret is your marketing is really not about you, ironically. You think it is, but it's really about the markets that you're trying to reach. Everything that you talk about is in the frame. I agree with you, Jeff. It starts with their pain points, the way they articulate them, not the root cause, because we're experts. We know what's going on behind all that. But where their mindset is at, that's where you need to meet them. That's where engagement happens. So the answer to your question, Dan, is to take any kind of sentence or frame or headline or whatever and look at it from the outside perspective. And it's all about where they're at. And then you answer those pain points with impact. Not, you don't have to go into how yet, but the impact you have on those pain points and the value that you bring that's different. And that's how you create engagement. But the mindset that Jeff is sharing is right on. I've seen this work over and over and over again. It's almost so simple. It's hard because once you get that frame down, then you start seeing your marketing or helping your clients see their marketing and their messaging from a different perspective.
That's great. All right, I want to make sure we get to everybody's tips today, but again, I encourage you guys to go out to coffee because it sounds like there's some good conversation happening here that may lead to some good projects and things.
Yeah. And
All
I'll
right.
just say really quick, it is hard because we are selfish, because we want to sell, we want to lead with that. It is hard to flip that mindset. You're right, Susan, but you have to do it. If you want to get it right, you have to do it.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, Mickey, would you like to introduce yourself and share your tip today?
Sure. So I'm Mickey Mellen, partner at a firm called GreenMellen Media. My business partner is Allie Green, hence the GreenMellen, where that came from. Today's tip's more of a meta tip. Stephanie, you mentioned I read, I think you said like 1,000 books a day, which I wish I did, but I totally do not. I wish I read more. And so I've been playing with my systems around that and would love to share what I've discovered and yeah, get other thoughts on that. So a few things have kind of come together for this. One is I want to read more, but also read better to better understand what I have. That's been a big push of mine the last couple of years. That's why I have a virtual book club I host, and I do a podcast just to force me to revisit books again to make sure I'm getting the lessons out of them. But also I'm getting more into trying to own my digital assets. That's why I'm a big fan of WordPress over most others, because you can download and own it. I have my notes in Obsidian, which is super geeky, but they're like local notes that I control. Nothing can go out of business. Books have kind of eluded me on that because they're in Kindle and they're in. So I've kind of solved that. The other thing that came together was I had lunch with a guy named Chris Gardner a couple weeks ago, who is mind blowing. His goal in life is to raise $1 billion for the kingdom, as he says, and he's about a third of the way there, something like that, just through encouraging his clients to give and all that. But he's just a remarkable guy. The most remarkable thing was when I met with him a few weeks ago in May, I think it was, he had read 95 books this year so far. And said, okay, reading a lot of books is fine, but he showed me the list. I'm like, ooh, I love that one. And he was like, oh yeah, that one has these 3 things. And like, he was giving deep insights on the books. I was like, how do we do this? And part of it is he just devotes a lot of time to it. I mean, you can't escape that. But he also did something I've considered doing for a while is he buys the Kindle and the Audible and does them simultaneously. He reads the Kindle while it's reading it to him. And I've always wanted to try that because he says otherwise his mind will drift and that keeps him zoned in more. And I thought that was brilliant. But there's 2 problems with that I see. One is personally, I'm trying to avoid Amazon more, just more philosophically. That's a different conversation in general. And also that's expensive. You're buying every book twice and that can add up a good bit. There's some bundles, but you're buying it twice. So I'm like, all right. So I did a lot of research last week trying to figure out how do I do this more cost effectively. I've used Kobo some for books, but they don't do Audible stuff. Apple does, but they lock it down even harder. Barnes and Noble's kind of a hot mess. So I thought I found the solution with Speechify. I've heard a lot about Speechify where it could read stuff to you, and it was almost perfect. You can upload any book to it, which how to upload a book is we'll talk about in a sec. Then it uses their AI reading tools to read it to, so you can kind of follow along as read. It was great. The problems were one, it's tricky to load books in there, which yeah, again we'll get to. But also more importantly, they removed their bookmarking feature. Like when I'm reading a book, I like to highlight or make notes so I can go back and see the parts that stood out. They had a feature like that and they got rid of it. And they said, sorry, we may add it again someday. But so otherwise I'd have to be doing that and have a separate app or separate notebook or whatever, which isn't a killer, but it was kind of a bummer. And they're a little expensive. They're $29 a month or something, which is less than buying multiple audiobooks, but still too much. So ultimately, I went with a tool called 11 Reader. So you may have heard of 11 Labs. They're like kind of a leader in text-to-speech stuff right now. And they added a reading tool a while ago, I think like a year ago, which is fantastic. So I'm using that and I'm loving it because one, the paid version I need is $10 a month instead of 29, and it reads stuff to me and it's great. So I can open an 11 Reader, fire up the book I want, and it'll just read it to me as I'm listening, and I can kind of wander around with it and do it. It's fantastic. And again, I'm a few days in, so we'll see if this lasts. But the bad and the good are kind of what's led to this. So the challenge is, again, getting books into that. How do you get your books in a format you can upload? And that's not easy to do. Kindle, last year, I think I published in February, Kindle was like locking down the ability to download your books in February. So I downloaded them all locked up and just had them sitting there. And so this week I figured out how to unlock them to make them books that I own. And then I buy most books through Kobo, which is a similar online thing, but they're much easier to unlock the books. And so through this, if nothing else, if all else fails, all my books are now in a format that is portable, that is unlocked. I can use in any tool I want ever, which again, personally, I like. I bought these books, I have them. So 11 Reader is great, but if it goes away later, that's okay. I can use a different tool because my books are now in a format that is better. And yeah, I like 11 Reader. It has a bookmarking feature. I can, as I'm listening to things, I can tap a little bookmark and kind of go back and revisit those. I use Readwise a good bit for summarizing highlights and stuff. Readwise is fantastic. Chris, the guy I mentioned, one of his rules he has is Readwise, for those that don't know, you can see all the highlights you've made in different books and have it kind of quiz you on things and do some neat things just to force you to revisit. But one of Chris's rules is when he finishes a book, when he's going to start a new one, he has to go read all his highlights from a different book just to force himself to revisit. I'm like, that's cool. So that was neat. But I use Readwise a lot. 11 Reader does not feed your highlights into Readwise. I have to put them in manually. But again, that's okay. I'm trying to force myself to revisit these. So if I have to put them in manually, that's one more chance to look at the quotes and put them in there. So yeah, that's kind of my little tip is just to consider how you do things. And this one gets a little geekier because getting your books unlocked is not easy to do and legally, yeah, kind of gray. But again, I bought them. I'm okay if I'm not giving them away. They're for my personal use. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I'm happy with where I'm now because now I have a Dropbox folder with 250 books that I bought over the years that are all just in whatever format I want. 11 labs will read it to me. I put in my headphones and walk around with my iPad and do it, and it does keeping me more zoned in. I think it's gonna be a great way to go. So we'll see what happens.
That's so great,
So
Mickey. And you
there you
guys
go.
listen to Mickey's podcast. He's got a podcast called Stacking Knowledge. Go ahead and put your link in the chat.
Okay, yeah, cool.
If you want to say your website for the podcast. But it's great. And he talks to other business professionals and they go through a book together and talk about the things that they pulled out of it. And it's just really interesting and a diverse group of people. And it's really fun. So
And she's been on it. So yeah, there we go. Even
yes,
better.
it
Yeah.
was so fun. And I
Right.
used to read a ton and then I had babies and now I'm getting back to it because my children are getting older, but I used to read like crazy. But we go to the library with a suitcase and the librarians, some of them smile at us and some of them look at us kind of like, you guys are kind of strange, but we do.
Love it.
Yeah, so awesome. Well, thank you, Mickey. All
Yeah.
right, we'll do quick thoughts and questions for Mickey. I want to save a little bit of time to get to Susan, but any thoughts or questions for Mickey? I think that's a great tool and resource. We can all read more books and get more knowledge.
Yeah, Dan, you have your hand up, it looks like.
Oh, Dan, sorry. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to let someone else go if they needed to. I just want to say uh, thanks for making me feel seen. I'm not a prolific reader, but I have a weird way of reading, and I'm like, oh, you made that sound normal. So I listen to a book. If it's compelling enough, I'll then go buy it from Goodwill Industries, so it's used and cheap, and I don't have to spend the 20. I'm spending more like 4. And then I listen again while following along in the book. And then
Nice.
I make my notes on a big whiteboard instead of in the margins, and I take a photo of that whiteboard, and that's my go back to what were the main points that hit me. I've always thought I was just strange because it's the only way I could get something to stick, but it sounds like you're developing a method that can help people get it to stick. So appreciate that.
Cool. No, I love hearing other people's styles of how they do it because I'm always tweaking my stuff that way, and that's fantastic right there. I love that. Yeah.
That's so good. Wonderful. Well, we'll all have to up the number of books to read now that we have some great tools and strategies to do that. That's
There
awesome.
you go.
All right, Susan, would you like to introduce yourself and share your tip today?
Sure. Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Gold. My company is Susan Gold Coaching. I'm a marketing strategy coach. I have a 4-decade career in marketing. I decided in 2019, right before COVID, to really focus and hone in on strategy because that often is the missing piece for marketing, not just for promotion, which is just one of the 4 P's under the marketing umbrella. Today, I wanted to talk about networking. So, networking is a funny word because it can be a 4-letter word for some people and it can be exciting to others, right? All of us are on this call for networking as well. So, we're experienced networkers, but it can be a great lead generation channel for some people or a necessary evil where you just make yourself do it. You'd rather eat broken glass than go to another networking meeting. And it could be or should be for many of us the most effective marketing channel for lead generation, but not for everyone. Sometimes, you feel like you're showing up every week or every month, depending on the structure of the networking group. And what it's really is an expensive cup of coffee, right? It feels good to show up to a familiar place with familiar people, but when you're not getting results from your networking, it's really frustrating. And at some point, people say, well, you have to wait 6 months or you have to wait a year to see results. And frankly, I don't think that's true. I think when you have a strategy and things are aligned, then you start seeing results much sooner. So, what's going on when it's not working? Obviously, we understand the giver's gain mindset, right? Helping others is not only the right thing to do, but it likely creates a desire to give back. So that goes without saying, although I just said it. But the real issue in networking is lack of clarity. Earning trust is important, but it's also impossible if you're not clear on who you are, what problems you solve, for whom, and how you're different. And finding the words that connect with people can be really challenging. Sometimes it's not being in the right room. It's not differentiating our positioning. It's not having a strategic ask. It's not having clarity regarding our ideal client. So, what does that mean, an ideal client? because not all clients are created equal. We use the word sometimes, well, I'm agnostic. I can help anybody and everybody, or every business can use my services. But when you think about it and you analyze your clients, the history of your clients, they're not all created equal. Not all of them are revenue producing. Not all of them are profitable. Not all of them are a great fit. So, in fact, not all of them are equal. So, once we identify who those ideal clients are, even by doing actual rankings, looking at your history of all your clients, where they came from, what services they bought, this is the strategy of identifying your who. Um, and using that data to understand which clients rank high or medium or low on those three factors of revenue, profitability, and fit factors, now you're starting to see who rises above to the highest level of these are ideal clients. Then you ask yourself, do I want more of these? Are these the kinds of clients I should be asking for in my networking? So once you know the who, then it's easier to figure out the messaging that engages with them, to a lot of what Jeff was talking about and others were talking about, really what's important to them, the pain, impact, and value the pains they have, the impact and value that you bring. But, when you have the ideal client figured out and you've got your messaging aligned, then you know the right channels to get in front of them. Oftentimes we're thinking about, well, should I do this? Should I do that? Is it this networking group or a different networking group? It starts with your who. And having a strategy for networking is key. The more we help others help us, then we get results.
I think that's so great, Susan. And I think a lot of times people forget about networking in terms of marketing, right? And so often I find that businesses want all of the results to come from the brand awareness side, or, from the top of the funnel. And they want the dollars to come in the door from the top of the funnel. And they don't realize that they have to go all the way down to the bottom of the funnel. And usually where those dollars come in the door is the networking and the sales process, right?
Right.
So if you don't, and yet we have strategy around email, we have strategy around PR, we have strategy around all these things. But having a strategy around networking and sales is, just as important, because that's usually where the dollars come in the door. So that's such a relevant topic. All right, looks like Dan's got a
Thank you.
question. We'll do thoughts and questions
Yes.
for Susan.
It's such a great breakdown. Anytime anyone talks about networking, they have insight. It's always beneficial to me because I enjoy networking. Personally, I don't get to do it much, so I try and make the most out of it. And just to kind of add to the thinking outside the box thing, I've been very fortunate for years and years and years. I just grab a whiskey and I sit somewhere. And because it's a networking event, one person at least will come up and say hello. And then I instantaneously tell a story, quickly make it all about them and just let them dump, because we all just want to talk about ourselves. And I will sit in one spot for 3 hours. Everyone will just come to me, hey, come talk to this guy, whatever. And it's not because I'm special or important. It's because I can very quickly make it about them. And then the ones I have real strong connections with, I'll actually grab their info and send them a video afterwards and that sort of thing. So it really can be what you make it. And I love that you've looked at it from, 10 different angles, because sometimes people do just think you show up and talk and about yourself for 3 hours, and that's terrible. So appreciate you putting a positive light on it.
Yes.
Well, hopefully this is the
Thank you.
kind of networking that you guys like, where we get to know each other. And that's what I love about this, is we get to hear from people's expertise. And so just by knowing that you're an expert in your industry and being able to see that month after month, of course I'm going to send business to, Richard or Trenton or Sue, all of you, because I know you. And so that's so great. All right, Nikki, you've got a thought or question?
I think Jeff was first, but I'll be quick
Oh,
anyhow.
sorry, I
He'll
didn't
have
see.
time there.
Sometimes they
It's
don't
all
pop
good.
up when, so sorry.
I was going to say, Susan, I love your thought of making people see the next level down, like who your client really is. This is something we struggle with a lot with our clients. We're like, we're building a website for you, but I don't care what you think, because it's not really for you. It's for the people another layer down. And so
Right.
yeah, I love using that when they say, I really like blue. I'm like, I really don't care. Like, why does that matter for, if your customer likes blue because it reminds them of IBM or whatever, that's cool. But yeah, I love your clarity on that kind of stuff. You sound very, I'm guessing you've read Story Brand. You seem to have a lot of Donna Miller.
Actually, no, not
Really?
really.
Okay. Oh, cool.
It's just kind of a philosophy that I've developed over the years of knowing what's working and what's not working. But I
Awesome.
often, to your point, tell clients, it's not about you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're just going to have to accept it. It's not about you. And once you get past that, then we'll be able to engage and connect and
Yeah.
build the
No.
right strategies, right?
There you go. Your clarity is fantastic. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, you had a thought or question?
All this stuff is going to matter more in an AI world. I really think we're moving toward a world or a situation where networking, in-person events, all that are really going to be huge, because so much around people are all virtual. People are talking to Chat GPT. People are uh, trying to figure out what is authentic, what was written or created content wise, what's on your website that was not done by AI, that email you sent, probably written by AI. Like everything people are getting is written by a robot. Where is that authenticity? Where is that heart? Where is that human element? I really feel like the more we hurtle in the direction of AI everything, I think the in-person event and the networking and seeing people eye to eye and talking to them and knowing that the thing I'm hearing is coming from their mouth and coming out of their head, I think is going to become bigger and bigger and more of a thing that people are going to crave. Yeah, some people, as Susan, you mentioned, do struggle with networking, but I think more and more people are going to start going, you know what, that's a hurdle I want to get over, because I need a human. I need to actually talk to someone real, and I need to know what they're telling me is coming from them. And so I think getting out ahead of that, I think being part of that and promoting it is a good thing, and it's only going to become more important going forward.
Absolutely. Well, I love all the tips today. Thank you guys for coming with your expertise and your tips. Thank you for participating in the discussion. Again, that's my favorite part of this meeting, is that we're not just having a presenter come in and share their knowledge, but I love hearing from all of you, and I love the questions and the back and forth and the ideas that happen here. So thank you guys for joining. And again, grab the information in the chat. I encourage you guys, connect on LinkedIn, download each other's content, listen to each other's podcasts. You guys are all a wealth of knowledge. And so, definitely take advantage of all of those opportunities. And please remember to sign up for next time. Would love to have you guys come back and present. So don't forget to submit your tip, and we'll save your spot for that. And then please invite your other marketing colleagues as well. This is for executive level marketers, and we are collaborative, not competitive. We like to be able to just have different voices, different places, like we were talking about before we logged on, about where people are around the world. We have people from all over the world that come to this meeting. So please be sure to invite your friends, and we will sign off and see you guys next month. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for listening to the SowGrow Marketing Council podcast. Want to be part of our next meeting? Visit SowGrowPR.com. That's SowGrowPR.com, and click on the Marketing Council tab to sign up for our next event. Until next time, keep growing.